spirituality, consciousness, meditation. It used to be like a hobby. It used to be like something you could take or leave. Not anymore. Now it's so practically needed for these very difficult situations where you hear about something or you're involved in something that's very difficult, and it requires a lot of preparation to be able to not be in effect of it. Hello friend, John Dalton here for the Emergence Podcast, where we go into love, consciousness, the mystery. I had a couple of questions come in. First one says, "Hi John, I hope you're doing well. I've been watching some of your videos and thought I could make a question for you. Here goes. I've been struggling finding my way in creativity. I know and feel there's a lot inside me. I just don't know how or where to channel it. It's not like I want to do this and I don't do it. I just don't know what, and it frustrates me. It's been a while since I feel this way. What are your thoughts about it? Sorry if there's anything misunderspelled. It's not my native language. Thank you for reading." Okay, well, let me go outside and get blasted by the wind to answer this. This is a question about creativity, but it could be about anything, because it comes down to what do you do when you don't know what to do? And what I've come to with this might sound very simplistic and kind of obvious, because for me it's something or nothing. And you might go, well, isn't that obvious? And yes, it is obvious, but we don't do that. We do both. We do both something and nothing at the same time, because we just think about things, which feels like we're doing something, but we're not. We're actually doing nothing. We're just helping ourselves, or helping ourselves maybe feel like we're doing something. So the hard thing is to commit to one or the other. So if you look inside and you go, what am I going to do here? I have all this creativity inside me, but I don't know how to express it. What am I going to do about that? And you go, well, am I going to do something or am I going to do nothing? And I go, okay, I'm going to do nothing. What does that mean? That means being still. It means being very still on the inside and not allowing my mind to start to think about it, to go into the mystery with it, to become very still, to meditate about it, and to do nothing about it. And when you do that, a sort of power builds up, and then out of that you find yourself doing something. Okay? So what about the other side? You go, okay, well, I'm going to do something about it. What am I going to do? I don't know. Well, then just do the first thing that comes to mind. Just do that until you get a sense of, no, this isn't the right thing. Then do the next thing until you get a sense of, no, this isn't the right thing. And just keep doing things and doing things and doing things. And don't think about it too much. Just wait on the communication from inside about what, is this the right thing to do or not? And if you do either of those things, you will figure it out very quickly. But the inertia and the feeling of frustration, and I want to do something, but I don't know what to do, and I get frustrated. That comes from thinking about it, which, as I say, feels like you're doing something, but we're not. We're just thinking about it. That's one of the things about thinking. It feels like you're doing something, but you're not. So what do you do when you don't know what to do? Do something or nothing, but commit to either. Don't be in the middle, and the middle is thinking about it. Thinking is great when it's of use, because what you'll find is for example, when you're doing something, you need to be thinking. You need to, I'm going to put this thing here, I'm going to do that, or whatever. That there's a place for thinking. But when you are at one of these kind of situations where you don't know what to do, thinking about it doesn't help. Either taking action or doing absolutely nothing, which is another kind of action, because there's this thing that action does purify. Thinking about it doesn't. It just clogs everything up. So being as still as possible, or going right after it. Just doing one thing, no, not that, next thing. So if it's creativity, it's like, okay, I'm going to paint a picture. I start into painting a picture. Two minutes into painting the picture, I hate painting now. Okay, I'm going to write a book. Great. You get into it, you write
2 chapters and suddenly I hate writing, this is not the right thing, or the energy's all gone, you know, because it's very easy to start things, but the really deep kind of creativity comes to the fore with the energy to sustain and complete and get to the end. So do the next thing. Oh, I'm going to crochet. That's it. It's going to be a crocheted piece of sculpture. Great, do that. And then you're halfway through that and the energy goes, do the next thing, do the next thing. Just keep doing things. Don't judge it. Just do it till it's done, or till that feeling of I don't know what to do has gone. So take action or be very still. But don't be in the middle. Don't be just thinking about it. And you'll be amazed at the amount of energy that's released when you do that.
I had another question come in. Here's my question, John, that I write here because I'll add some personal context to the story. How do you support someone behind the scenes? Do you send good energies, in inverted commas? Or, like in the meditations, do you just make yourself available for that person to reach you? Is this still too much in my mind or imagination? I guess it's practice until one could feel and know that it's happening. The context is that yesterday I received some news that my first boyfriend, first love, was arrested by the police during a protest in the streets. He's okay now, but he spent the night in the police station. I didn't think it was actually him at first, but then a friend sent me a video that was on the news. It was violent. The police were pressing him against the ground. And it was also weird to see something like this news, that I always avoid seeing, but with someone that I know on the screen. It seems like he was leaving from work and ended up being in this protest and filming with his phone. I don't know if that was the reason why they took him, but that's crazy and violent. So they dislocated his shoulder and he had surgery before going to the police station. He was released today with the help of a lawyer. So yes, it was shocking to me, and thinking of him spending the night there without any communication, the only thing I could do was try to send support, at least behind the scenes. But I didn't know how. Anyways, he posted on Instagram a couple of minutes ago to thank friends and people that supported him. He says that he didn't feel alone.
This story, it just highlights how spirituality, consciousness, meditation, it used to be like a hobby. It used to be like something you could, you know, take or leave. Not anymore. Now it's not like that. It's so practically needed for these very difficult situations where you hear about something or you're involved in something that's very difficult, and it requires a lot of preparation to be able to not be in effect of it. Because one of the challenges with life is whether you feel like life is happening to you or you are happening to life. And when life is happening to you, or you feel like life is happening to you, you're just sort of in effect all the time. You're just sort of reacting all the time to, you know, what's happening. It's just like, oh my God, you know. Whereas when you feel like you are happening to life, lots of things still go on, of course, but you relate to it differently. You own it in a way that you wouldn't if you weren't consciously involved in helping your consciousness, growth in your consciousness. So this story highlights kind of archetypes of what goes on. Because there's 3 people involved in the story, really, or there's 3 perspectives. There's the person that it happened to. The poor guy comes out of work, gets caught up in something, and, you know, next thing he's face down on the ground with getting his arm twisted and ending up in the police station, okay? There's him who is having it happen to him. Then there's the person who sent in the email. They know this person, they care about them, they love them, and they're hearing about it, okay? So it's not just like the news, it's not just some distant person, it's someone they know and they've got a connection with, okay? Then there's you and me, who are hearing about the person hearing about the story, which is where most of stories are. You know, we look at the news, we see people, we relate to them, we feel things, but we don't know them. But we some part of us knows them. We relate to the story, the humanity, the energy of it. So this particular story kind of highlights the three different things, because it's a very different experience for each of the places in the story. For the person who's having it happen to them, they're just in it, okay? Now for them, as I said, it's either a case of life is happening to them or they are happening to life, which means when you're face down on the ground and your arm is being twisted to the point of being dislocated, that in some way you are conscious of it's not so much I made this happen in a blaming yourself kind of way, but I own this. I'm curious about why this is happening. Of all the things that could have happened as I came out of work today, this thing is happening, and I'm thinking about it, okay? So there's two different ways of relating to it. It could just be like, oh my God, this is terrible. Look at this terrible thing that's happening to me. Why? I want it to stop. It's very understandable when it's a painful thing that's happening, that our initial reaction is, I don't want this to be happening. That's understandable. But through meditation, you understand about reactions, and you can get underneath these things, and you can begin to look at it in that kind of, wow, of all the things, why this? Why this? Why now? Why in my life? How does it all fit? What does it all mean? That kind of thing, right? Then the person hearing about it, who loves the person, who's close to them, who, has a reaction, oh my God, and then they see them on the TV as well. That's like another shocking thing. So number one, to acknowledge the shock, but then also to kind of come back into their experience, which is what's actually happened. What's happened is I've heard some information. Two things have happened. I've heard some information and it's resonated with me because I'm connected to this person through love behind the scenes. So in a way, I probably had a sense that there was something going on. And this has just put the words on the outside of a feeling that I had on the inside. But then the challenge then is, again, to not be in the life is happening to me, or this terrible thing happened to me. It's to kind of come into your direct experience. What's happening? I got some new information. What else is happening? It's still a lovely day. I'm not there. I'm not on the ground. It's not happening to me. It's really important to acknowledge that and to go, I've just had some new information. I've just had new words, new sounds, but the sun is still shining. It's still a lovely day, and I'm so grateful for all the wonderful things in my life. I can hold that and my concern for my friend and my shock. I can hold it all. I can hold all the different things that are happening all at the same time. And then there's us, you and me, hearing about the story. What does it mean to us? We don't know the person, so we don't have the behind the scenes kind of connection going on. We do in a very deep way, but not in the same kind of immediate way. We don't know that person, but we hear about the story and we feel for the person in the story. We feel for the person who's hearing about their friend. And we have a reaction. We have different things come up in us. Fear, oh my God, that's terrible. What's happening? What's going on in the world? All that stuff, But it's the same again. Is it going to be a life's just happening to me? There's another terrible story. It's a bit closer to home. Or isn't that interesting? Of all the things that I could have heard about, I hear about this thing. And coming back into, well, it's still a lovely day. The sun is still shining. I still feel the beautiful sensation in my body. I acknowledge all the good that is there, as well as this new bit of information. Then there's the other thing of what they were asking me about, how do you help somebody behind the scenes? And that's what I meant by, it's no longer a luxury, it's no longer a pastime, because you find yourself in this situation and then you're like, I know it's possible to help people behind the scenes, but how do I do it? I don't know how to do it. And it's like, well, it takes a while. It's not just something you can just do overnight. There's levels to it. Like you're right when you say it's not, is that just imagination? Is that just my mind? Yes, of course it is, because you can imagine your friend and you can imagine lovely light beams going to them and you can imagine all sorts of things. And that's all it is, it's imagination. It's better than nothing, but it's very different to a deeper, more impactful way of helping them. Because I work with people all around the world, and if I just imagined them getting better, I don't think that it wouldn't do anything, it wouldn't help, because it kind of starts with getting a very good understanding of what's going on behind the scenes, and then how to tell the difference between just imagining and actually feeling it in the sensation, because sensation feels like it's out here, but it's not. It's inside you. Sensation, you register sensation out of existence. So being able to connect with somebody else, being able to help their system, be able to help them when they're in trouble, that requires a lot of meditation and a lot of practice at doing that, so that you can connect with them beyond your imagination, beyond your mind, out of existence, in the mystery. And that's why I go on about it so much. That's why I go on about meditation. I mean, it's no fun. Meditation's no fun. I know that. But it's still important. It's still important to train in it and to put the practice in and to do the difficult work of figuring it out, so that when you need it, you can do it. So yeah, of course I'm going to encourage you to do the trainings, do the meditation, come to the space for the mystery, figure out about the psychic world so you can get clearer and be able to navigate directly to the mystery. All these things are so important. But the good thing is that you can help people behind the scenes. Doesn't matter how far away, because behind the scenes, behind existence, time and space don't matter. Time and space stop functioning in the same kind of way, and you can help. And you can help in a very important and significant way. As I say, I work with people all around the world and they get fantastic results on all sorts of levels: physical, emotional, spiritual. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's not a special gift, it's something you can learn and something you can develop. And the more people that do it, the better. We'll be able to sort of help each other all more.
And of course, the other thing to think about or to realize is that it has to be like that. It has to be like that when it comes to imagination, because if it was instant, if there was no time delay, then all you'd have to do is imagine terrible things and terrible things would happen. Or you'd have to, if you imagine good things, that instantly appear. And of course, it doesn't work like that. And it's because we don't have a lot of control of what we think about. And things can pop into our head, and it's all kind of part of that mysterious way of consciousness growing. So the delay is built in, and it's kind of a safety thing, I think. That doesn't mean that not imagining goodwill towards your friend when they're in trouble is the thing to do, or that doesn't have any effect. It does, but there's more to it than that. You need more to it than that. So, farm news. This isn't really farm news. It was more, yesterday I was at the recycling centre dropping off my stuff for recycling. Because I live remotely, it's not like the garbage people come around and collect stuff for me. So I have to bring it all, I have to sort it all, and I bring it there. I kind of like doing that. It's nice to put the cardboard where the cardboard goes and so on. And what people do, there's one place where just generalized garbage goes, and you have to reverse in there and you throw your bags of generalized garbage there. And often people, they'll put things to the side, and there's a little shelf to the side, and if they kind of go, because this thing just is a compactor, just everything that goes down there gets squashed and crushed and whatever. And I've seen great things down there. I'm not game to jump in, but I've seen great things down there. But every now and then people must have a bit of remorse and go, I can't throw this away, it's too good. And they put it on this little shelf to the side. And it's kind of like, if it's of interest to anybody, they can take it. So I got this there yesterday. That's my news. And what I'm holding is a glass head. It's like, I don't know whether it's a shop mannequin or what it is, but it's very substantial. And often when people leave things, there'll be a little, little damage or something in them. I can't see any damage in this at all. It's pretty perfect. And it's almost like it was there just for me, because it's a completely clear glass head. And it just seems to like symbolize a lot for me, because when I meditate, that's kind of what I'm going for, is like a very transparent emptiness inside, which is what this kind of glass head represents. It's not a skull, if you are not watching this on YouTube. It's not a skull. I don't know what they would have used it for. I think it might be just I don't think it's a shop mannequin kind of a thing. Maybe, I mean, you could put hats on it, but it's completely transparent, So that's my farm news. It's my little delightful bit of news from the farm. So do write to me if you'd like to. It's pretty easy, john@furtheremergence.com, or you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm not going to go through a lot of memes in this episode. There's just one meme which kind of ties into everything else that I wrote a good while ago, but it's just more and more true as far as I can see. And it's very simple. It just says, your fears are justified for as long as you justify your fears. This is such a good thing to run through particularly when you've got your fears, because it's amazing how we justify our fears. We go, yeah, but what about? Or if you hear yourself going, well, it's all right for that person. That's you justifying your fears. And the way it works is, if you justify your fears, then your fears will be justified. So it's kind of like saying, I need to put a metaphorical alarm system in my metaphorical house. If you think like that, then you do need to put a metaphorical alarm system in your metaphorical house. Because the justification for that is, I don't want to get burgled. And if you justify your fear of being burgled, then your fear of being burgled is justified. So you do need the alarm. Whereas if you go to the root of it, which is your fear, and deal with that at the root. And when I say deal with it, I don't mean beat yourself up or try and smash it or deny it or suppress it, because that doesn't work. You squash something down, it'll just come out the sides. I mean, change your frequency about it. See it for what it is, that it's fear. Fear is a very, it's very low frequency, okay? And your frequency, the more you elevate it, and you elevate it by meditating. Meditating is going out of existence deeper into the mystery, which elevates your vibration, your frequency in existence. So remembering that your fears are justified for as long as you justify your fears helps when you're in the middle of justifying your fear. Taking precautions, being careful. That's not to say that you don't do those things, but do them in the understanding that you're co-creating the thing that you're afraid of. And that it's more effective to acknowledge the fear and rise above it. And not kid yourself about it and go, I'm still afraid about that thing. And I think I better do something about my fear of the thing. Which is very different to saying, I better do something about the thing. So it would be the difference between saying, I'm getting an alarm system put in my house because I'm afraid because burglary is statistically the burglary rate in the neighborhood has gone up and I need to do that. It's the difference between doing that and going, I've looked at my fear of being burgled, and I've been able to get above it to a certain degree, but it's still there. And my sense is that it's still there enough that I might actually make that happen. So I'm going to get the burglar alarm put in, mainly because I can't get rid of the fear yet. But mainly because the fear is still there. It hasn't diminished enough yet, or I haven't got further away from it enough yet for me to feel like I don't need to. Very different way of thinking about it. Much more empowered, And it goes back to what I was saying about life happening to you or you happening to life. Because when you're happening to life, then you're seeing it in those terms. My fears and justifying them creates them. Now, the other thing is world peace. World peace is something that I've thought about for my whole life, but it's kind of been I've been slightly embarrassed about it. Because when I was growing up, world peace was the sort of thing that Miss World contestants would, when they're asked the question, if you could have one wish for the world, they would sort of trot out world peace. And it just seemed like the epitome of the way people thought about world peace was that, like, it's naive. It's a bit frivolous. It's not a real thing. So I kind of kept it to myself. I didn't really talk about it. But I still thought about it a lot and how it could happen. And it's almost like what's been happening lately is it's not like there's been an increase in war. What there has been is an increase in the immediacy of it. Like when the conflict broke out in the Ukraine, that seemed very shocking compared to Iraq or the Gulf War or previous wars that I've remember happening. And I think that's part of the growth in consciousness. It's closer. It's the feeling of it being over there. It's a lot less now. There's no over there. It's all very close now. And I think that's part of the consciousness. So it's kind of the idea of world peace and peace in general. There's like a whole new experience of that, of like, wow, war is terrible. This is awful, It seems like it's being felt a lot more keenly, which is hard, but good, because it is awful. And it comes back to the thing of, well, what can I do about world peace? Or what can you do about world peace? What can anyone do about world peace? It seems like it's out of our hands. And what I've come to realize is that world peace is not a global thing, it's a personal thing. And it comes down to you and me getting to the root of why I don't have peace in my inner world. And the more I find peace in my inner world, the more it reflects in my outer world. I've seen that happen in my own experience. And compared to the feeling of powerlessness and feeling like, well, there's nothing I can do about it, comparing that unpleasant feeling to the difficulty of dealing with all the reasons why I don't have inner world peace, feeling powerless is a lot easier, because getting to the point of having inner world peace means I have to deal with all my stuff, all the reasons why I get angry, all the reasons why I'm resentful, all the reasons why I'm unkind, why I snap, why I get frustrated. Oh, that's all hard stuff to deal with, much easier to just feel, oh, well, there's nothing I can do. So world peace starts with you and me, because the more people that make it their mission to find inner world peace, that has a big impact. Because what's in the process of happening, even though it may not feel like it, is the beginnings of a cascade in consciousness. Because we've had a version of a cascade in consciousness a couple of years ago when all the lockdowns happened. Because if you'd been talking to somebody even 6 months beforehand, and if you'd said, yeah, we're going to have this thing where everything is going to shut down and everyone's going to stay indoors and no one's going to go out, they would have said, nah, I can't see that happening. The planes stopped flying, the ships stopped bringing the stuff. Nah, I can't see that happening. And yet it happened, and it happened very quickly. Now, that was a very contracting idea, but it was a demonstration of how cascades work. And there's a cascade at the moment in the beginnings of happening of consciousness. And the more people that go, you know what, I'm going to turn away from feeling powerless, and I'm going to deal with my inner world peace and finding inner world peace myself, that cascade eventually will reach the people with their fingers on the triggers, their fingers on the buttons that launch the missiles or whatever. I don't know how that works, but who take the destructive action. Eventually the cascade reaches them, and that's how we get world peace. And that's what I wish for you and me for the coming year. So I trust you're well, I trust you're of good cheer, and I wish you peace. I wish us all peace for the coming year. Till the next time, bye-bye.